What's socialism?
Well, socialism is partly an ethos, partly it's a politics. The ethos is that you belong to a social unit, not an individual self, that your allegiance, your values, and in some cases your identity comes from being a part of that social unit. You are born into a social unit, you are shaped by that social unit, and your job is to perform a function in that social unit.
Okay.
Now that's an ethic, but then if you politicize it, then you say whatever authorities are that wield the power in that society, they can use you and direct you for social ends primarily. The individual doesn't exist or exists only to the extent that he or she is performing a social role, and so can be used by the political authorities for that purpose. So the political formulation usually is just the standard is to say the collective ownership of the means of production. But the core means of production is a human being.
Right.
So that is to say the human being is owned by the collective and should be used by the collective.
What is capitalism?
Well, capitalism is a more variably defined thing. If you take capitalism as the opposite of socialism, and I think that's one legitimate usage, then you say it is an individualistic ethos that I make myself, I am responsible for myself, the values that I pursue in my life should be mine, and then I enter into social arrangements, family, friendships, business, sports, voluntarily, and that the purpose of the power institutions in society is to protect individuals as they pursue their lives. And so that would then imply the economic portion of that, which is an economic free market, and that typically is capitalism. Now, capitalism is more slippery here. Sometimes capitalism is meant only to refer to an economic system where we have private property and free exchange and so forth. Sometimes it's used more broadly to mean liberal individualism, and then that's the contrast to socialism.
Between the two of them, it's easier to sell socialism because we have, as Jonathan Haidt would say, we all share the care-harm platform or pillar together, that we want to take care of people. Capitalism kind of just leaves you out there in the cold. And socialism is about making sure we all make it across the finish line together, right?
Well, I think socialism is in its political form, a perverted version of the care principle that you talk about. So care, I think we do have this. I think we do have a natural benevolence, but it's not automatic. Infants, right from day one, they size up people they are interacting with. And if the person is a basically decent human being, then of course we form positive attachments and we want to work out mutually beneficial whatevers. On the other hand, if the infant senses that this person is not treating me appropriately at my infant level of understanding, then we start putting barriers up and the care doesn't happen. So I think most of us as human beings want to give people initially the benefit of the doubt. And so I'm open to care, open to forming relationships, but it does have to be earned at some sense. So what socialism, I think, wants to do is, and it can start this way. There are many routes to socialism, but it can start from I'm a nice person, and I want everybody to get across the finish line, as you put it. And I am afraid of what might happen to me if I fail in my life. And I can also then empathize with other people who are not doing well with their lives. And so I just want the problems solved. And in many cases, socialism is just a knee-jerk, I want this problem solved instantly. And the best way to solve the problem, if it's an economic problem, is to take money from people who have it and give it to the people who don't have that. Now, I think that's a plausible explanation for some avenues towards socialism, and it can come out of that care and a healthy benevolence.